And I think we're live. I think we are live now. And dashboard. And we are live, which is great. Totally awesome. Wonderful. Fan-fucking-tastic. So, really briefly today, I've got three fairly brief topics to go over. First on the list, interesting trends that have emerged since the Real Money Auction House's launch. Now, I'm not even going to take the time to say that the Real Money Auction House is out because we all know this because we all play Diablo 3. So, first thing on the list I want to talk about are some interesting trends. Now, when the Real Money Auction House first came out last Tuesday, and granted it hasn't even been out for a week, the first day it was out, people were literally reaching into bags of money and they were throwing it at their screen until they realized that they had to type in their credit card number, give that to Blizzard, and then that's how they transferred the digital bags of money. So, people were really willing to spend whatever they wanted to. I mean, people were willing to give their life. People were pretty much dumping their life savings into the game as of last Tuesday. I mean, I saw a few people, Caparian, a few other streamers that just basically unloaded their, or had people unload their bank accounts into their auctions. I mean, he put up a couple of items he paid $500,000 gold for $250 and immediately sold them. So people were making a ridiculous amount of money. I personally have made, as of right now, $90, which is pretty good for me because it didn't come from one single item. It came from about 40 little microtransactions. I've mostly been selling mid-level legendaries for the most part, which sort of brings me to part two. What have I been doing to make money in the Real Money Auction House? I've, like I said, been selling mid-level legendaries. I've been able to craft all of them myself. What I'll do is get a legendary plan, craft 10 or 20 of an item that I know will be profitable both on the Gold Auction House and the Real Money Auction House. Of course, I want to check the price that it costs to make it and the price of selling it beforehand so I can do that math and know it's profitable, like I said last week. Once I have that figured out, the good items, the ones that have plus experience, plus other important stats, or have combinations of them, like strength and vitality, or intellect and vitality, rather than just random assorted stats. I take these, and then from there, the good ones go in the Gold Auction House for gold profit to pay the cost of crafting the ones that are good that go in the Real Money Auction House and sell to make me money. So that's sort of what I've been doing to make money. I've been selling items for, let's see here, generally speaking, I sell things for about $3.50 is what I've been selling for most of these mid-level legendaries for. And I actually didn't sell any overnight last night, which has me a little bit unnerved. I thought I would have been able to make a lot more money overnight last night. So I'm a little bit spooked that maybe, just maybe, where it's starting to level out at a place that is lower than what I thought it would be. So I'm going to try to lower those legendaries to maybe $2.99 rather than $3.50. Maybe 2 and some change, maybe $2.50, somewhere in that area, just so I can test the waters and find out where this is sustainable and where I can sell these legendaries all day, every day, and find out what that dollar amount is. Like I said, right now I think I've made $85 after all of Blizzard and PayPal's taxes. It's about $85, give or take. So the game's paid for itself, and I made $20, which is pretty cool. Also, something I want to point out is I didn't actually lose any gold. I didn't spend any gold in making these. I've made a gold profit as well in this crafting. So that's sort of something I want to draw attention to, the fact that I haven't spent gold, and therefore if I can just find someone that's willing to buy all of this stuff, if people continue to buy this at a price that's profitable for me, I can infinitely make these items. The limiting fact, I have an infinite supply, I just need to find a price that answers demand. So that's sort of what I've been doing, and this brings me to my next point, and I am extremely excited about the future, which is point number 3. Projected changes in the value of both commodities and gear with the release of 1.0.3 later this month. Now, typically in Blizzard games, they release patches on Mondays or Tuesdays. Generally speaking, it's Tuesday. But with this, I'm thinking it could be as far off as Wednesday. So it could be this coming Wednesday, and if not, it will most definitely be the Wednesday after that. Or Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday or Wednesday. Most likely Wednesday, just because they've done a lot of Diablo-related patches on Wednesday so far. So I'm thinking Wednesday, probably this coming Wednesday. If it's not this coming Wednesday, it'll be the Wednesday after. That's my first date and my second date as far as when I think the patch will come out. Now, what are the important financial changes coming out in this patch? Well, the two biggest things are, one, the price of crafting goods is going down. And the second biggest thing is that legendary items are getting a buff all around. Now, the legendary items, they haven't specifically specified whether they're only going to be high-end legendaries or if it will cover the mid and even low-level legendaries as well. But I believe upper-level and mid-level legendaries will all be buffed for sure, with a little bit of a window in there for other items. So, it's going to make what I do more profitable. It's going to make what I do... It's going to allow me to make more money doing what I'm currently doing. And I think I'm lagging a little bit, so I'm going to close this. Okay. So it's going to make what I do a little bit more viable, and more importantly, because legendary gear is going to be getting a buff, if crafted legendary gear is getting a buff, that means that the materials to make this crafting gear will become more expensive because there'll be more demand from them to make the legendary gear, which is now also more expensive. So all of these prices I think will go up. So for all of the legendaries that I make, for everything that I make to try to sell in the room in the auction house, I'm going to be going in, I'm going to be making 4 new characters or so and just filling all of their inventories with crafting materials. And I'm going to buy them when the price is fairly low this weekend. Because if the price of this material doubles, I could have saved myself a couple million gold there. I could have saved myself an enormous amount. And my profit margins after crafting will be much, much, much higher. So if you're thinking about crafting, if you're thinking about making legendaries specifically, if you know the materials that you will need to make certain legendaries, I would go ahead and buy them early next week and just stock up on them, because the prices of the price of the materials to make these legendaries only has one place to go, and that's way, way up. I think that if you were to see something like the Helm of Command suddenly have twice the stats it had before, like literally... Oh, that's another thing I wanted to point out. The price of legendary gear that already exists will go down, because the old legendary gear will not be getting a buff, but all new legendary gear that is found or crafted will get a buff and will be more useful. It will be more effective. So legendary gear that very much lags still? Really? The top tier of crafted items, the mats and price isn't changing, but legendary gear, the stats of legendary gear is going up. And I do not believe that the stats of high-level rares is being changed at all. But if it is, then I would speculate that... I mean, they aren't. I mean, they aren't. Like, they said nothing about high-level rares. And the thing is, they don't want to change the stats of rares as they currently are because they're strong enough. They don't want them any stronger than they already are because they're not game-breaking, but Blizzard wants legendaries to be competitive with the top rares, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be. It's ridiculous. They're legendaries are the highest tier of item, and if they aren't the strongest, then there's a problem in the game. And a lot of people are saying, well, this isn't World of Warcraft, and it isn't. And people in Diablo 2 complain that this is the way things were, and they didn't like it. But I think Blizzard doesn't believe that they should be undeniably better, and that Rare should still be competitive, but that Legendary should be at least competitive, and generally, as a rule, should be better than Rares. So, I think that's sort of the direction they're heading in with this, and I think that crafting Legendaries, which has already been extremely lucrative for me, it's been extremely profitable on my end, I think it will become much more profitable. I think that with these items getting stronger, that's another thing. Really quickly, this brings me to another topic, or another tangent. I would advise you to get rid of legendary gear that you already have, because legendary gear is going to be getting buffed. The new legendary gear that is found, and the new legendary gear that is crafted is all going to be getting stronger. So this means that you want to get rid of the current legendary gear you have, because it is going to be less useful. It is going to be less viable. It is going to be worth less. So hopefully the new legendary gear will cost more than the current legendary gear, and the current legendary gear will stay the same. But what I think will happen is that the price of current legendary gear will go down, and the price of the new legendary gear will be slightly higher than what the current legendary gear is, but not drastically higher. Either way, I think that the price of crafting materials will go up substantially. I want you to take a moment and imagine. Really, the video is a lot better when I started 10 minutes ago. Undeniably better, and that Rare... That is odd. I don't know what that is. But either way, I want you to take a moment and imagine a world where a Helm of Command, let's say your average Helm of Command, it has 120 to Dexterity, 120 to Vitality, whatever, or let's say 140 to Strength and 140 to Vitality, then a few other assorted stats, your 8% block, etc. Now take that and the defense, double all those stats. Think about how much more that item would be worth. Think about what if that became the standard for that legendary item. What if the rolls, that legendary items, the rolls on all the stats, suddenly became double what they originally were. The minimum and the maximum were suddenly double. That would be insane. That would be almost unimaginable. I mean, the value of these goods would go up so greatly that even though it would only be affecting a few items, just to craft that small portion of items, the cost of Inferno materials would skyrocket. Now, I personally have not been crafting the Inferno Legendaries for profit because, quite frankly, they aren't profitable. It's a gamble every time you make the damn things. But with low-level Legendaries, it's not a gamble. You're sort of guaranteed a profit, even if the profit is, albeit very small. So that's sort of what I'm thinking as far as patch 1.3 goes. Another thing I wanted to point out about patch 1.3 is that Inferno is going to be a little bit easier, and Inferno drop rates will be higher. This means that the price of the tip-top gear right now will go down a bit. Proportional to inflation, though. I've noticed that the price of gear as a whole is way more expensive than it was a week ago because there's so much gold in circulation. So it's hard for me to say that you should liquidate your level 60 gear because of the fact that it's going to be more readily available and that it will become cheaper relative to the whole economy, because inflation is happening at such an amazingly fast rate. You probably won't even, you may not even notice the change in the value of gear, just because of inflation. And this brings me to a little bit of news that I really wanted to touch base on sometime during the show, and that is the ban wave for bots before the Real Money Auction House was released. This is pretty substantial that they banned all of these different Chinese botters. I don't know. I hate to use a racial connotation with it, but for the most part, they're coming out of China or somewhere else in Asia. And these botters, a huge chunk of them got banned, I would imagine. Blizzard didn't release any numbers on that, to my knowledge. And this would have helped inflation, this would have helped the gold problem as a whole, this would have taken care of some of the bots. But overall, I think that it's a very menial nerf. I think that as a whole, the majority of botters either picked up it with a different bot or weren't affected by it at all. I don't think it really, I think it helps Every little bit helps, but it doesn't help us very much. And you can tell this because the prices in the gold spammers that are all up in our chat channels hasn't changed. They're still selling gold. They still see no end to the amount of gold that they can unload. So, not something I'm extremely worried about. However, there's light at the end of the tunnel. This new patch will have changes to Warden in it. It will have some changes to Warden in it. They haven't really discussed them. I don't think they're really listed anywhere, but there will be changes to Warden. There will be updates to Warden, and it will be a little bit more difficult for these hackers to do it. I mean, from experience looking at the World of Warcraft bot that Blizzard fought with Glider for so many years, the hackers will always stay one step ahead of Blizzard. They will always be able to bot comfortably. They will always be looking over their shoulders, but as a whole, the botters are always ahead of Blizzard. But I think with these changes to Warden, at least Blizzard will take a step to try to catch up. As long as the botters are only one step ahead of Blizzard, that means a lot of botters are not a step ahead of Blizzard and have been banned, and that's more gold out of circulation. That means your gold is worth more, and that means that inflation will slow down. So, I'm in favor of all of these botters being banned. Of course, I think everyone is. I think that Blizzard could do more about it. I think that what they have done is not enough, but I think that they are doing more, and I'm happy whenever I hear about the slightest bit of anything that is done to slow down these bots. I mean, it's a major problem, and it's one of the biggest holes in our game. It's one of the problems that will hinder our game through its entire lifetime, just because of the amount of money that can be made from botting. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, people were making. I've heard reports of people that were 13, 14, 15 years old making $1,000, $1,500 in the first 2 days the real money auction house was out. I mean, that's insane. I didn't want to do that because I felt like it was risky and retarded and no one would ever do it. I kind of wish I had now. But that's sort of what I've been doing. Just I put up 1 or 2 items that are really, really high price that I'll find in the gold auction house. And then while I'm waiting for those to sell at ridiculously high prices, I sell off the loads of low-level legendaries. However, none of my ridiculously overpriced level 60 legendaries have sold yet. Just wanted to put that out there. So, in conclusion, I just wanted to say crafting is going to become even more profitable, even though they're nerfing a lot of the crafting costs, and they're nerfing the cost of leveling a craft. I think that overall it will still become more profitable because legendaries will be buffed. Granted, if mid-level legendaries like Ashira's Bindings, Oglet's Treasured, the Magi, Harvest Moon, things like that, if those legendaries are not changed at all, then legendaries will become worth less, or rather crafting will be less profitable as a whole. But I think that if those items are buffed, crafting will be even more lucrative than it already is. And another thing I just wanted to touch on before I close the show is that I am a little unnerved because nothing of mine has sold in the past 15 hours. In the past 15 hours, I haven't sold anything on the real money auction house. This is a little bit disturbing because I was selling so many items so quickly over the past 3 or 4 days. But like I said before, I'm going to lower my prices. I'm going to see how it goes, and I will get back to you guys at this time next Saturday. So thank you for watching. You can catch the VOD on youtube.com/MacCowanII. I will watch the VOD and see how laggy it was, how glitchy, etc., etc. Hoping it is not nearly as bad as you guys have been saying. I hope it's not that bad. That would be terrible. But anyway, thanks again for watching. If you have any questions, you can tweet at me at MacX10, which I will type for you guys. And you can send me an email at mac10tv@gmail.com. You can message me on YouTube. That's probably your best bet. YouTube account is MacCowanII, MacCowanII, which you already know if you are watching the VOD. Or you can contact me directly on Diablo 3 at Mac10 or hashtag 1404. So thanks again for watching. I will see you all next week. And if you're just getting here now, I hope you enjoy the VOD. I hope it's not too laggy. Anyway, bye-bye.